What happens when you talk trash to the most dangerous man in basketball history? This isn't about a game winner. This isn't about stats. This is about the moment Reggie Miller made a mistake that legends never make. He bumped him. He barked at him. And for a split second, he believed Michael Jordan was just another man. But with Jordan, silence never surrenders. It's the final warning, because the next thing Reggie saw was a fire he couldn't put out, a storm he couldn't contain, and 40 points, delivered with surgical precision. This wasn't just revenge. It was a masterclass in dominance. The night Reggie Miller crossed a line and instantly regretted it.
I remember Michael looking at me, coming out the third and fourth quarter. Well, Michael ended with 40, and I ended with 12.
He bumped into the wrong legend, mouthed off to the wrong icon, and woke up the monster that lives inside the greatest to ever play the game. This is more than a fight. It's humiliation, chapter by chapter. It started the way most great basketball stories do, with a little bit of swagger, a glance too long, a word too sharp. Reggie Miller had never been shy. The Pacers' sharp-tongued assassin was one of the deadliest shooters in the league, and maybe the most talkative. Trash talk wasn't just part of Reggie's game. It was the bloodstream that ran through it. He didn't just shoot threes, he shot daggers with his mouth. And on this particular night, Reggie aimed both at the wrong target, Michael Jordan. Now, if you know anything about Jordan, anything at all, you know he's not the guy you want to provoke. You can challenge him to a duel if you're ready to be humiliated. You can talk back if you want to see your name on the back of a SportsCenter beatdown. But taunt him? Disrespect him? You better be built like steel, or foolish like fire. Because when you poke the lion, you don't just get the claws. You get the whole damn jungle. Jordan wasn't just a basketball player. He was a force of nature with a memory like a steel trap. He didn't play for stats. He played for dominance. And if you gave him an excuse to erupt, he didn't just respond, he unleashed. It was a hard-fought game. Bulls versus Pacers. Two Eastern Conference contenders, locking horns. Reggie was moving in his usual rhythm, slipping around screens, jawing at defenders, baiting calls from the refs. The kind of game he lived for, chippy, chaotic, personal, and midway through the first half, the moment came. The play didn't look like much at first. A missed shot, bodies scrambling for the rebound, Michael Jordan in the lane, Reggie Miller flying in for the putback, and then contact. Reggie's shoulder bumped Jordan square in the chest. Was it intentional? Maybe. Maybe not. But Jordan turned, glared. The air shifted. Time seemed to hesitate, waiting for what came next. Because everyone in the arena knew what that look meant. Then it happened. Jordan walked over. No words, just heat in his eyes, and let a fist fly. Yes, Michael Jordan threw a punch. This wasn't a scuffle in the heat of the playoffs. This wasn't some overhyped bench-clearing moment. This was Michael Jordan, the image of controlled rage, letting go in a regular season battle. Not a haymaker, not a fight, but a shot across the bow of Reggie Miller's entire identity. Why did he snap? Was it the bump, the build-up, the tension from games past, or just the bubbling disrespect? Maybe the better question is, what was Reggie Miller thinking? To understand why this moment exploded the way it did, you have to understand who Reggie Miller was. Not just a shooter, not just a scorer, he was a mentalist, a provocateur. He thrived on chaos. Reggie could hit a three from 30 feet, hold his follow-through, spin back on defense, and needle his opponent all in one fluid motion. He jawed with Knicks fans. He blew kisses to Spike Lee. He made cities hate him, and love to hate him. But Jordan? That was different. Reggie had always admired Mike, but he didn't fear him. That was his edge. Some players saw number 23 and froze. Reggie saw him and talked. And Reggie believed that if he could just get inside Jordan's head, he could win. Once, as a rookie, Reggie actually had the gall to trash talk Jordan during a meaningless preseason game. "You're not all that," he said with a smirk. Jordan finished with 44 points. After the game, Jordan pulled him aside. "Don't ever talk to Black Jesus like that," he told him. Reggie would never forget that warning. But sometimes, memory fades under adrenaline. On this night, the trash talk returned, and so did the regret. The referees scrambled, whistles blew, benches cleared. The scuffle was short, but the aftermath was deafening. Reggie was ejected. Coach Bill Fitch was thrown out. And Jordan? He stayed in the game. Commentators blasted the decision. "If one guy goes, both guys go," one analyst said. Only one punch was thrown, and it was Jordan's. But Jordan remained. And with every dribble that followed, he made sure Miller regretted ever waking the beast. Because Michael didn't just get even, he got surgical. The best revenge in basketball isn't a punch, it's a poster. And Jordan knew that better than anyone. After the dust settled, he turned his fury into fuel. He buried a deep three, then a pull-up jumper. Then he sliced through the defense like it was paper and slammed it home with authority. By halftime, he had more than 20. By the final buzzer, 40. Every shot felt like a message. Every stare was punctuation. Reggie, watching from the locker room, the Pacers didn't just lose. They were humiliated. The Bulls didn't just win. They announced who was in charge. Jordan didn't just score. He orchestrated pain. And isn't it funny how fast the narrative changes? One moment you're barking at greatness, the next you're a footnote in its highlight reel. So what was it, really, that made Jordan tick like this? Some say it was his competitiveness, the infamous "I took that personally" gene. Others say it was his ego, the kind that demands absolute reverence. But maybe, just maybe, it was something deeper. Maybe Jordan didn't mind losing, but he hated being disrespected. That's why the trash talk hit harder than the bump. That's why the punch came faster than any ref could react. Because for Jordan, it was never just about basketball. It was about hierarchy, legacy, control. Jordan had earned his throne. Reggie, intentionally or not, tried to climb it, and Jordan kicked him off. Hard, and with points. This wasn't the first time Jordan punished someone for speaking out of turn. Clyde Drexler, humiliated in the 2092 finals after being compared to MJ. Dan Majerle, targeted because Jerry Krause liked him. LaBradford Smith, destroyed after a supposed insult that may have never even happened. Jordan didn't need real motivation, just perceived disrespect. Reggie gave him both. And once you give Jordan a reason, he won't just beat you. He'll make you wish you stayed quiet. So what drives a player to carry that kind of grudge into every dribble? Is it greatness, insecurity, or a fire that never dies? Jordan never answered that question. He didn't have to. He let his game do the talking. And Reggie? He heard every word. Michael Jordan didn't forget. Not that night, not that season, not ever. He didn't just store slights, he weaponized them. That's the thing most players didn't understand until it was far too late. To Jordan, disrespect wasn't just a foul, it was fuel. And Reggie Miller? He gave him a full tank. After the infamous altercation, the bump, the stare, the punch, Miller became more than an opponent. He became a name on Jordan's mental list. And in the world of Michael Jordan, that list was sacred. It wasn't made of grudges. It was made of targets. Once you were on it, you weren't just playing against Jordan. You were stepping into a firestorm he had been quietly preparing for you. That heated night in the early 92nd wasn't just a scuffle. It was the prologue to a decade-long chess match, a rivalry not defined by one game, but by moments layered in silence, intensity, and psychological warfare. Unlike most NBA rivalries that flame out after a playoff exit or a press conference jab, this one grew deeper in the shadows. In the spaces between whistles, in the eyes of two men who saw the game differently, one who baited the storm and one who became it. Miller and Jordan didn't need to talk. They didn't need to sell the moment. The court did it for them. Every hard foul, every dagger 3, every fadeaway jumper with 2 seconds left. Each possession became a paragraph in a story they were writing against one another, one play at a time. Let's not pretend Reggie Miller wasn't brilliant. He was a master of movement, a savant at slipping through defenders, a cold-blooded killer when the lights got hottest. But what made him different, what made him dangerous, wasn't just the flick of his wrist, it was his mouth. That mouth had a rhythm of its own, one that could rattle stars, bait role players, and unravel entire benches. Trash talk wasn't just a tactic. For Reggie, it was theater. He whispered into ears, shouted across the courts, raised eyebrows at refs, and smirked in the face of giants. And most of the time, it worked. Against most players, Miller could get in their heads, lure them out of rhythm, and break their focus. He didn't just want your body, he wanted your mind. But Jordan, you don't bait a lion, you just get eaten slower. That's what Reggie learned, the hard way.
Into the game in the second half, he ended up with 44, and I ended up with 12. So he outscored me 40-2. And as he's walking off, he's like, be sure and be careful, you never talk to Black Jesus like that. Okay, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, Black Jesus. I'm so sorry.
Did you ever do it again?
Never to Michael Jordan. Never to Michael.
One of the most fun rivalries.
Fast forward to 1998. The Pacers were no longer outsiders. They were veterans, hardened, confident. Reggie was still running circles around defenders, but this time, he had a real shot. The Bulls were aging. Pippen was dealing with chronic pain. Rodman was as unstable as ever. And Jordan, he was still Jordan. Still lethal. Still circling his prey. Game 4. Tie game. Seconds on the clock. The season. Maybe the dynasty. Hanging in the balance. Miller curled off a screen and gave Jordan a subtle shove. Just enough. He rose. Released. The 3 fell like a thunderclap in Indiana. The crowd exploded. Reggie spread his arms, chest out, like a warrior who had slain a god. For a moment, it looked like redemption. But then the camera cut to Jordan's face. Expressionless, stilled. And that was the worst sign of all. Because when Jordan looked angry, you had a chance to brace for it. But when he looked calm, you'd already lost. The series reached Game 7, the only Game 7 Jordan ever played in the Finals-era Bulls. And this time, it was real. Indiana came out firing. The Bulls looked slow. For the first time in years, you could feel it. The legend might finally fall. The crown felt loose. But Jordan didn't panic. He didn't force. He didn't flail. He chipped away like water cutting through stone. Not with volume scoring, but with timing. Control. Steals that turned into silence. Mid-range daggers that sucked the belief out of Indiana.
Michael to Pippen the crowd. And that gets the crowd back into it. Here's Michael.
He didn't explode. He was extinguished. The Bulls won 88-83. The dynasty lived.
Reggie running off screens, but it's Smits with a quick turnaround and miss. Dale Davis can't hit the tip. Longley has it, protects the ball, and on to the finals. For the 6th time in 8 years, go the Chicago Bulls.
And Reggie? Back to the locker room. Again. The dream was delayed. The lesson repeated. Years later, in interviews and documentaries, Reggie would finally admit what fans already knew. Jordan wasn't just better, he was inevitable. I enjoyed the rivalry, Reggie said. I enjoyed the back and forth, but Michael, he was just something else. You couldn't break him. And the more you tried, the more he broke you. There's a quiet humility in that confession. The kind that only comes from battling the very best and still showing up again the next night. The kind you don't earn in wins, but in survival. It's easy to trash talk when you're up. It's harder to give credit when you've been outclassed. But Reggie did, because even he knew, sometimes, losing to Jordan was just another way of being immortalized. We talk about the rings, the records, the highlight reels, but what we forget is what it cost. For Jordan, every night was a battle for dominance. Every opponent was a threat to be neutralized. That kind of mental fire, it doesn't flicker, it scorches. For Reggie, greatness came with a tax. It meant giving your absolute best and still watching it fall short. It meant being legendary in the wrong era. It meant rising just high enough to see the throne but never touch it. That's the heartbreak of the 92nd. So many stars, but only one sun. The rest just lived in his orbit. And maybe that's what separates players like Reggie from legends like Jordan. Not stats, not trophy, but the ability to turn a moment into a memory, and a memory into a myth. Reggie Miller didn't walk off with a ring, but he walked away with something just as permanent. A front row seat to basketball's most untouchable force. Because when you step to Michael Jordan, you don't just play the game. You become part of the story. And in that story, Jordan always finishes the last sentence. Reggie Miller didn't walk off the court with a ring. He didn't walk away with the upper hand in the rivalry. He didn't silence Jordan, didn't outshoot him, didn't dethrone him. But what he did walk away with, and this is something only a few men on earth can truly say, was a front row seat to greatness. And not just the greatness you clap for, the kind you survive, the kind that leaves marks. Because when Reggie Miller disrespected Michael Jordan, whether it was the bump, the trash talk, or the arrogance of thinking he could pull rank, what he got wasn't just retaliation. He got educated. And the price of that education? A decade of hard lessons, televised for the world to see.
I can only speak for myself. I can't speak for Max. There was no weaknesses. Try to force him left. You try to force him right. You try to top lock him. You try to hold. You try to be physical with him.
Now let's be clear. Reggie Miller was no scrub. Not even close. The man retired as the NBA's all-time leader in three-pointers made. He carried the Pacers to the finals in 2000. He was a 5-time All-Star, an Olympic gold medalist, and arguably the most clutch shooter not named Jordan in the entire 92nd. But in the house of basketball, greatness has floors. And the closer you get to the top, the thinner the air becomes. Reggie was in the penthouse. Jordan was the roof. It wasn't just about skill. It was a presence. It was aura. It was the way Jordan entered the arena and bent gravity around himself. He didn't just play the game, he altered its atmosphere. Opponents didn't just prepare for Jordan's game, they prepared for the mythology of him. Even when Jordan missed, it felt like a setup for something greater. Miller could drop 30 on the Knicks and taunt the crowd. But Jordan, he could drop 50-inch Madison Square Garden and walk out like it was a Tuesday. That was the difference. Reggie made noise. Jordan made moments. And that, more than anything, was what left the deepest impression. Still, what made their rivalry so rich wasn't just the drama. It was the contrast. Two warriors, fueled by fire, but burning in opposite directions. Reggie used chaos to create rhythm. He'd dance along the three-point line, stir the pot, get the crowd on edge, then deliver the kill shot. He wanted you emotional, distracted, shaken. Jordan used stillness, silence, precision. He didn't want you riled up. He wanted you cornered. He'd lock you in, isolate you, and then hit you with something you couldn't stop, even if you knew it was coming. And that's where things tilted. When Reggie tried to use his usual tools, trash talk, bumps, fouls, mental games, Jordan didn't flinch. He flipped the script. He took the disrespect and made it fuel. He took the trash talk and turned it into target practice. And once again, he reminded the league, and anyone else watching, that you don't get away with talking to a god like he's your equal. Not in his house. As time passed, something remarkable happened. Reggie stopped denying it. Years later, when asked about Jordan, he didn't dodge, he didn't downplay, he didn't try to rewrite history. He called him the best player ever. He admitted that going up against MJ taught him more about mental toughness than any coach ever could. He confessed that part of what made him better, what made him dangerous, was having to look across the court and see a man who demanded your absolute best just to survive the night. And that's the paradox of Michael Jordan. He destroyed you, but in doing so, he raised you. Reggie Miller became Reggie Miller because of Michael Jordan.
You know, looking back over 18 years, you'd have thought that Michael and I, the Bulls and the Pacers, would have played more than once in the playoffs. We only played once, and it was that epic 7-game series. You're measured by your competition. He is clearly, and in my opinion, the best basketball player I've ever seen to date. And I knew that I had to bring it each and every time I stepped on the court when I was going against MJ.
Were you friends?
No.
Just like Barkley, just like Ewing, just like Peyton, just like every other great player who played at the age of 23. They didn't just compete against Jordan, they were forged in the fire he lit. So when did it really change? When did this rivalry move from competition to confession? It wasn't a buzzer beater or a box score. It wasn't Game 7 or the 1998 Eastern Conference Finals. It was that punch, that single moment of raw instinct, center court. Looking back, that scuffle wasn't just a flare-up. It was a pivot point. It was the night Miller learned that fire meets fury. That arrogance gets answered. That when you step to the king, you better not miss, or he'll make sure everyone remembers that you did. The cameras didn't catch it all. The broadcast didn't analyze it like they should have. But if you were there, if you were watching, you felt it. The moment the atmosphere changed. The moment when Reggie Miller went from challenger to lesson. So why does this story stick with us? Why does this moment, in a league full of buzzer beaters and brawls, still echo decades later? Because it's more than basketball. It's about respect. It's about consequences. It's about what happens when ambition meets reality, and reality punches back. It's a story every competitor can feel in their bones. It's a reminder that confidence is fuel, but only when you know what you're walking into. Because some men aren't just players. They're storms. And Jordan? He wasn't just a storm. He was the whole damn climate. In the end, Jordan didn't need to say a word. He let the scoreboard speak. He let the banners speak. He let the highlight reels and Reggie's silent walk back to the tunnel say everything. There's a reason Michael Jordan remains untouchable. Not just because of the rings, or the stats, or the GOAT debates. It's because of nights like these. Nights where someone tried to knock on the throne and got swallowed whole. Nights when the price of pride was 40 points and a lifetime of memory. What separates great players from legends? Is it their numbers? Their accolades? Or is it how they make everyone around them remember exactly who they are, long after the buzzer sounds? Reggie Miller was great. Michael Jordan made him remember who was greater, and in the process gave us one of the most unforgettable rivalries in basketball history. If you like this video, don't forget to press the subscribe button and ring the bell to receive notifications about the latest videos from our channel. Please leave your comments and suggestions below in the comments section, and don't forget to share this video with your friends. This action also contributes to motivating us to work even more diligently. Have a great day.